In the beginning, there was nothing. And then, there was lasagna. And from that lasagna, the seeds of the universe were planted. As many Garfields rose up from it. And as soon as these Garfields were born, they would forever change the world. This is the story of Garfield. The first of many Garfield video games came out in 1983, which was simply titled Garfield. It was supposed to come out for the Atari 2600, but the brutes at Atari thought Garfield had limited appeal. It's obvious they didn't take the time to play the game, as it turned out to be one of the best platformers ever made. Atari, not knowing what good video games are, sealed the game away, even though the game's positive reception would have single-handedly stopped the video game crash of 1983. Rumor has it if you have an Atari ET cartridge, you might actually have a copy of Garfield 1983 in disguise instead. The actual first Garfield game, Garfield Paint, wouldn't come out until 1986. It's exactly what the title says. As for Garfield's first handheld game, that would be 1993's Garfield IV, the Hono Labyrinth for the Game Boy. In it, Garfield has to go through the crazy castle. It also guest stars Mickey Mouse, and the real Ghostbusters, not fake, so it's also Garfield's first official video game crossover. With the transition into the 16-bit era, gamers were ready to be amazed by impressive titles made with the newest hardware available. Naturally, Garfield, being Garfield, made the jump from 8-bit to 16-bit rather successfully. A good example of this would be 1995's Garfield Another Story for the Super Nintendo. The game is an RPG where he teams up with Sailor Moon, and there's alternate universe versions of everyone and stuff. It is a very complex and revolutionary game, mainly because it's one of the few Garfield RPGs ever made. Of course, why should all of the Nintendo people have all the fun? Well, Sega friends, Garfield's got you covered too. Also released in 1995 is the hit platformer Garfield Caught in the Act for the Sega Mega Genesis and Game Gear. Here, Garfield avoids being caught breaking the TV by going into the land of television. If you like funny cat shenanigans, this game is for you. Additionally, you can also get the Sonic and Garfield pack with Knuckles, which not only contains Caught in the Act, and the Sonic and Knuckles collection, it also includes the Dream Team and Time Base's Baku Baku Animal Remix album. Surprisingly, Garfield would take a 5-year break from starring in video games, initially missing out on the jump to 3D. Imagine how interesting it would have been to get a 3D Garfield game for the classic Nintendo 64, the very first PlayStation, or the ever-successful Casio Loopy. Perhaps even more surprisingly, however, was Garfield's Return in 2000's Garfield's Mad About Cats for the personal computer book. In it, Garfield and Odie accidentally create cats, which they get mad about because they all turn out to be the cats from Toontown. Whoops. Of course, Garfield would stick around and eventually enter the third dimension in 2004's Garfield. It's a revolutionary masterpiece of cinematic gameplay and Odie-kicking physics. It was so good, a sequel in the form of 2006's Garfield Saving Arlene had to be made. It too is also a masterpiece. Speaking of 2006, another great Garfield game came out that year. Garfield and His 9 Lives for the Game Boy Advance is an excellent video game that tells the tale of the ever-beloved Garfield and His 9 Lives in video game form. If you like the 9 Lives comic or TV special, you'll love the video game. Of course, like any tried and true video game mascot, Garfield is still around these days. After all, we all know about 2013's hit game masterpiece, Garfield Caught. It goes without saying at this point, but it's an absolute masterpiece of a racing game. And who can forget about 2015's Club Penguin takeover event? And, most recently, Garfield's newest game, Garfield Go. You can even win real-life prizes in that one, such as a lifetime supply of Pepsi. At this point, you might be asking, what does Garfield have in store for us in the future? Well, my father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate works at Paws Inc., and he says that they're planning on making Garfield and Friends Battle Royale. It will only be the best Battle Royale game ever made, and we can't wait for it to come out next year. In the meantime, you can subscribe to the BUTTBUDDZ for updates on Garfield and Friends Battle Royale, as we're the first to report on them. That, and reviews, let's plays, and other fun stuff you'll enjoy as we wait for it to come out.
BUTTBUDDZ.